Technology Philippines, I would like to thank everyone for attending this virtual activity. The Academy puts a premium on its partnership with our friends from the media, and we recognize your important role as the gatekeepers of the information. We hope that you will continue to help us inform, encourage, educate, bond, and serve more people. We have an official media group called Scoop, which is open to bloggers and other members of the press. Many voices, no matter how small, are better than one voice. If we work together, we can reach more people, more researchers, and more scientists. If you are interested in becoming part of Scoop, you may contact us. To our media friends, if you have articles, news reports, blogs produced about the Academy or related to our members and awardees, please let us know. Please help us share the good news with more people. I would like to thank also the 2021 Outstanding Yong Scientist awardees for your time. And of course, to my dear friend Richard Burgos, our moderator. Thank you very much, sir. We hope to see you in the next virtual KAPEHAN featuring our newly elected academicians on July 6th and in the 43rd Annual Scientific Meeting of NAST on July 12 and 15 via Zoom. We are also inviting you to follow our social media accounts for information or updates on our future events. Again, good morning, magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat at maraming salamat. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Richard.
Yes, thank you very much, Director Ningning.
In doing science that creates impact, or relevant science for that matter. So as we know, although space is like out of reach, literally, but we are getting a lot of useful applications from space derived information. So, which helps in our planning, decision making, and management of different issues, disaster, environmental protection.
Professor. I am also the chair of the Ethnicity and Race Division of the International Communication Association. And my work is really about how digital media is transforming the everyday lives of people, and particularly of Filipinos and other people in the global south. Um, in terms of the research that I do, my primary work is on how digital media play a role in the possibilities and challenges that it offers when it comes to cross-cultural relations and relationships. Secondarily, I also do work on digital workers in the global south, including on digital disinformation production, those people whom we call trolls as well. So I've had a chance to actually interview and meet them in my project.
Wow, very relevant issues that you are studying. All right, there's of course digital media, and what are your thoughts about our young students having to grapple with the issues of using digital media maybe too early on?
Yes, I think currently what we're seeing is that our lives, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, has become even more digitally mediated than before. In fact, most of our lives now are lived online, and for young people, for students as well, we see that it's not only the learning part, but even their social interactions are now online. And so we're beginning to see what it can help us with, what these technologies can help us with, but also, the limits of what they offer. Like a lot of my students and many young people, I think, are complaining now that they want to go back to campus, they want to see their friends. So the social dimension of life kind of taking a backseat. Everything is now about function and work because of the online lives that we now live. So it's a really fascinating time to study how digital media is becoming more central to our lives.
You are the right person at the right time, at the right place. Okay, so we are glad that you are there, and you are an outstanding young scientist. Boundaries of countries and their exclusive economic zones are drawn by lines sometimes imagined. Okay, so what do you think your science will contribute to the national integrity of our land?
Pagdating po doon sa mapping sa boundaries, medyo malaking problema po yan, magulo yan. So hindi natin papakilaman yan kasi may mga legal issues din dyan. But anyway, what I do is I use maps to help local governments, especially my home province, Marinduque, in planning and, for example, disaster mitigation and things like that.
All right, so talaga naman maps, you have to know how to read your maps so you can appreciate what features the land will have for you or the waters around you, and maybe what hazards also they bring to you. Okay, so and you are better prepared to face off with these hazards. So, ladies and gentlemen, you have just met 9 very exciting personalities, and they're also young and accomplished. Awardees this year. At congratulations na
din po namin yung ayungin. For example, sa Taal, may ilang species po ng biya na inaaral din kami bukod sa tilapia. So, yun po. Marami rin pong iba-iba. Pero, lagi pong as part siya ng community. Hindi lang yung isda per se yung inaaral namin.
Okay,
versus hunger. So, very important din po, of course, no, na ma-address po both yung hunger and yung food safety. Kasi in relation po yan, of course, sa mga diseases po din na makakos sa mga taong makakakain pa rin po ng contamination. Madami pong cases na ganyan, no? Like, for example, sa mga pantries o yung mga donations, like kailangan na po talaga ng pagkain ng mga tao, but there would be scientific reports din po also na tumataas po yung cases na nagkakaroon po ng mga foodborne diseases yung mga tao na nakaka-receive po dun sa donation. So hopefully po, no, with our studies, ma-address po all food safety, hunger, as well as sustainability po.
All right. Sino pa ba ang ating tatanungin dito for Dr. Cabañez? All right, how can research on digital media mitigate the surge in misinformation and disinformation on vaccines and the COVID variants? Okay, this is asked by Catherine Cruz of Manila Times to Dr. Cabañas.
Thank you, Catherine, for your question. Siguro two quick answers. Yung isa is we need to be able to understand yung paano na-produce, ano yung nangyayari behind the scenes to produce this kind of disinformation about health and vaccines. Bakit sila ginagawa? Bakit ginagawa itong mga disinformation na to? Halimbawa, yung isang nakita namin is yung iba sa kanila algorithmic lang eh. Nagpapalabas lang sila ng mga kung ano yung bumibenta sa maraming likes, maraming shares, tapos kumikita na sila doon. So, yung goal lang nila ay kumita, kaya sila nagpapakalat ng disinformation. So, kailangan maaral natin yung iba't ibang ways at strategies na ginagamit ng mga disinformation producers para alam natin what policies we can develop to address that, stem it from the start. Kasi kung hindi sila nakaka-create, wala na tayong problema in terms of interpretation. But on the other side then, habang nangyayari pa yung disinformation, on the interpretation side, dun sa mga taong gumagamit ng social media, mahalagang malaman natin dalawang bagay. Una, ano ba yung mga kwentong meron sila sa isip nila? Yung tawag ko ng deep stories na pinaghuhugutan nila pag tumitingin sila ng mga bagay sa social media, kaya sila napapapaniwala. Meron kasi tayong mga sinishare na story sa isa't isa na nagiging mas vulnerable tayo tuloy sa mga particular kinds of disinformation. Tapos pangalawa, bilang isang media scholar, important din kasi sa amin yung paano mo kino-consume yung information. May kausap ka ba? Kinikwento mo ba yun sa ibang tao? Sinishare mo ba siya? Kasi madalas minsan pagka kahit hindi doktor yung kausap, mahalagang tao lang. Like, siguro, nilirespetong tao sa barangay or sa kapitbahayan or kamag-anak. Kahit hindi yan doktor, pag nag-share ng disinfo, naniniwala yung ibang tao kasi yung status niya. So, kailangan aralin natin yung mga ganong bagay, what makes people vulnerable. So, kailangan two-pronged yung approach. Salamat.
All right. Dr. Cabañas, doing it for money. Okay? So should we not also focus on those who give them money to promote their activities so that if we identify them, we can, dissipate their work and make them less accessible to people who work only for money?
Yes, that's true. We need to, I think, put out legislation around that. But siguro, dalawang bagay din siya. Yung isa is legislation na transparency for when people fund particular kinds of campaigns. Sino ba yung binabayaran nila for particular campaigns para alam natin and siguro it becomes harder for them to fund these kinds of campaigns because you have to be transparent about it. But because we don't want we're a democracy, gusto natin, ayaw naman natin ng censorship. So what we can do also is self-regulation sana. Self-regulation ng mga digital influencer. Kasi hindi sila self-regulated. Kung ano-ano lang yung nilalabas nila. Sana nag-usap-usap sila. Kumbaga sa advertising yun, PANA or merong kapisana ng mga broadcaster sa Pilipinas. Sana may ganun din yung mga digital influencer para meron silang ethical norms and guidelines of what campaigns they should agree to do. But also sa ad and PR, stronger self-regulation din kasi minsan nagdadamay din sila dun sa disinformation na yung pagpapakalat ng health disinformation. Lalo na yung mga professionals from ad and PR. Not the ones who are working there now, pero yung mga lumipat na kasi feeling nila mas kumikita sila sa disinformation.
Oo nga, nagkikitaan pala ngayon ang disinformation. And that really makes our job to communicate the right information very challenging, especially in these times of the pandemic. All right? So, next question is from Ms. Horizon Chaser Narisa Piscos, BL. And ang sabi niyo, why is your research important? Alam ko na si Narisa is into agriculture. She's turned a farmer herself. So let's direct that question to Dr. Marvin Villanueva, who is into, of course, diseases of ruminants. Why is your research important?
Actually, yung aking mga pet studies are mainly bovine leptospirosis and tuberculosis. So ito pong mga ito ay tinatawag na zoonotic diseases or these are the diseases na sinishare ng hayop at ng tao. So, aside of causing disease to animals, maaari din po kasi itong makahawa din sa tao. So alam po natin dito sa Pilipinas na mataas pa rin yung case ng TB natin. Hindi natin alam kung person-to-person contact po ito, but the animal-to-human contact is also possible. That's why yun nga pong mga diagnostic kits na dinedevelop po natin will be very useful para po ma-identify and to develop control measures para ma-prevent po ito. And sa ngayon din po kasi yung ginagawa namin research ay medyo iniba namin. Dapat may social aspect siya. Kasi wala po talaga kasing use kung gagawa lang tayo ng research. But it will not be accepted or adopted by our clients or yung nasa grassroots po. So kung gagawa kami ng mga technologies or mga tools, it should be acceptable din po sa aming mga clients para po talaga pong maramdaman nila na yung mga ginagawa namin ay may kabuluhan din po.
Alright, so how widespread is leptospirosis among ruminants as well as tuberculosis? How big is the problem?
Yeah. Sa leptospirosis po kasi ang alam po nung usual po na tao, galing po ito sa daga. Kasi tuwing tag-ulan, talagang dumadami yung cases ng leptospirosis sa Metro Manila. But ang hindi po natin alam, meron din po mga pathogenic leptospira po sa mga kalabaw and baka. And in my study, ang prevalence po niya ay naglalaro ng 16 to 20%. And marami po kasi dun sa mga rural areas na nakakaramdam sila ng lagnat, ganyan. Ang inisip nila is baka napagod. But yun pala, kumbaga cause na po ito nung bacteria po na nandun po sa animals, dun po sa mga farmers po natin. Sa tuberculosis naman po, actually talagang wala po akong makitang data. Mayroon pong mga several outbreaks na nakukuha po kami. But what we are doing now is we are making a proposal that we need to have a surveillance ng bovine leptospirosis, ng tuberculosis, para at least meron po tayong idea yung severity po ng infection and makagawa na po ng control measures para po dito.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Marvin. Okay, so 15 to 20% leptospirosis among ruminants, that's a sizable number, no? And that can really impact significantly our ruminant population. Okay. Next question comes from Ed Usman, and he's saying, introducing new fish species. Now, ang question na, how destructive is this to native species? Or are there any advantages? He asks this because in Buluan Lake in Maguindanao, a long time ago, Agri people introduced on the lake new species, like big fishes. And then, inubos halos ang new species, yung native species, which was the food of residents around the lake, as well as their source of livelihood. And he is aware that this happened also in Lake Lanao in Marawi City. So, can we direct this to, sino ba yung gumawa ng study on lake ecosystems?
Yes, sir. Ako na po sasagot. Again, actually, I sent Sir Ed a PM already. Pero for the sake of the others din po, indeed po talaga big issue, lalo na sa freshwater ecosystems, ang tinatawag nating non-native species or yung mga invasive species, no? Na nakakarating po dito. And it's true na kapag hindi po napag-aralan mabuti yung impacts ng introduction dun sa isang lugar, pwede pong maka-affect talaga siya sa native species na nakikita na dun sa ecosystem na yon, sa lake na yon, for example. And it can really lead to a displacement a total displacement of the native inhabitants of that day. Kaya po dapat pagka meron pong projects, let's say for introduction because it has potential for aquaculture, dapat po talaga pinag-aaralan munang mabuti yan. If I may share, although yung question po was on fishes, isa po sa mga naaral din namin ay hindi lang sa fishes nangyayari ang ganitong bagay sa ating mga lakes because in 2012 we discovered a species of freshwater zooplankton. The name is Arctodiaptomus dorsalis, which was a microcrustacean zooplankton po na nakikita lamang talaga noong una sa Central at South America. Tapos biglang na meron na rin dito sa Pilipinas. Hindi po niya ito native habitat. Ngayon po, ang naging negative impact po nun is meron din pong mga native and endemic po tayo na mga counterparts niya na nawala na rin po dun sa mga lakes kung saan nakarating na yung Arctodiaptomus dorsalis na yon. And sadly, it has been introduced to the Philippines through the aquarium trade. Kasi po, di ba may mga isda po tayo na ini-import minsan kung galing minsan sa ibang tropical countries or other parts of the world. So yung tubig po na dinadala to transport these fishes, yun po malamang yung nakapagdala nung non-native zooplankton na yun dito sa Pilipinas. And one of the studies in our lab focuses on trying to find out ano yung impact niya sa environment, ano yung naging response niya nung pag nakarating na siya dito sa environment natin. Kasi apparently, our results point to the fact na yung species po na yun ay mahilig sa nutrient-rich waters, no? Na marami po tayo nun sa Pilipinas kasi one of our big problems in the Philippines is eutrophication. So, yun po. And in the process po, marami po siyang nadi-displace na native and endemic species ng mga copepods po na yan. So, yun po.
So obviously the threats, all right, of invasive species impact our local residents who depend on local fish species for their food as well as their livelihood. Okay, so malaking impact po talaga nun. Ano ha? Is there a regulatory framework that is in place in the Philippines to control the introduction of foreign species?
For fishes po, relatively, the Department of Agriculture, of course, has some policies in place in order to make sure that it is controlled. Kaso, minsan po talaga, kapag hindi po napag-aaralan ng mabuti yung importation or yung introduction, lalo na kung ang namamayan nilang is yung profit side, yung, ay, maganda siyang ibenta, mabilis siyang lumaki, okay siyang panglinis ng aquarium, or in the case of yung mga inaaral po namin na zooplankton, hindi naman kasi siya nakikita. So, parang hindi tuloy siya nabibigyan ng importance. Or minsan, pag nakarating na, it's already too late. No? Established na po yung population niya. So, yun po.
Okay, so sustainability first before quick profit, no? So, this time from ano po ang distinct features and accomplishments that made you stand out above the rest in your field? Bakit kayo ang napili? Sa tingin mo lang. Okay? And next question niya, are you willing to share your expertise to others who are greenhorns and living in the countryside?
I think siguro honestly, parang konti pa kasi yung nagre-research sa field na ginagawa ko eh. Lalo sa field ng human ecology at mapping, parang there's a handful of people pa lang sa Philippines ang nag-venture sa research na to. The next is, yung research ko kasi minimal yung gastos eh. Parang wala masyadong capital outlay. So, computer lang, tapos data na nandun na pala sa LGU, hindi lang nila alam na may data pala sila or hindi nila alam how to repurpose the data for other use, lalo na sa land use planning. So, I think yun yung ano doon eh, kasi parang malaki. Kasi sabihin mo natin hindi naman siya parang breakthrough, pero at least yung natitipid mo na gastos instead na halimbawa gamit. Kasi sa research naman, alam naman natin na majority ng pera napupunta sa data collection kasi pambayad mo ng tao, then data collection. So kung mami-minimize mo na yung area na yon, I think that's a significant contribution din. Yung next ay yung willing to share. Before, nagko-conduct kami ng training, pero ngayon, pinapilot ko muna. We'll be doing a land use planning sa isang bayan sa Marinduque again. And then what we're planning to do is to involve yung local SUCs para magkaroon din sila ng capacity building para at least matrain sila kasi ang may mga mapping courses lang naman kadalasan nasa Manila or UP or yung ibang may mga geography courses or may mga. So hopefully with this maunti-unti namin tapos makulayan, hopefully mapinturahan yung buong Pilipinas na within the local government or within the local SUCs kaya na nilang gumawa rin ng mapping para sa kanilang sariling LGUs. Yun lang po. Thank you.
All right, it saves a lot of money, no? To look first inside your backyard to see if there's data available to help you along in your urban land use planning. Okay, so next, this is...
First of all, thank you for that question. To answer that question, as in any diseases, early detection is very important. Mas maaga mong madidetect yung disease, mas madali siya magagamot. That is where artificial intelligence comes into play. One way to do this is to create an expert system. This is to aid doctors in diagnosing breast cancer. Bali, yan yung ginagawa namin research about it. We create an expert system to help aid in the diagnosis.
All right, so expert systems are being developed, but in the meantime, the most intelligent thing to do if you suspect that you have breast cancer is to go have yourself checked and confirm the presence of cancer cells in your body. All right, so wag na tayo matakot dyan, kasi available naman po yung ating diagnostics and treatment regimens for breast cancer today. So the earlier, the better. All right, so thank you very much for that answer. Now, Elena Esteban, okay? Ang tanong niya, in your research processes as a communication researcher, what are the most common forms of disinformation that you have witnessed? And what are their most worrisome implications?
Because I've been doing this information research with my teammates for several years now, what we're seeing is nag-diversify yung mga forms of disinformation that we find on social media. And it's actually very difficult for us scholars to track kasi we are just writing about this one thing, may iba na namang lumalabas. So it's diversifying as we go along. But I think the most worrisome ones, particularly in relation to our upcoming elections, is that a lot of the current disinformation strategies are moving away from the posts that you see on your wall. Hindi na siya meron pa rin yun, pero the concentration is in the group chats, sa Viber, sa Facebook Messenger, mas nahirap yun ma-detect. And yung danger sa kanya, tailored siya to a specific group of people. So yung messaging niya, yung communication, sobrang bespoke siya, sobrang kumbaga lapat na lapat dun sa mga taong nandun sa mga groups na yon. And therefore, mas resonant siya, mas vulnerable yung mga tao sa ganong klaseng disinformation. And I think that's really one of the most worrisome things that we need to look out for. Yung gano'n na parang nandun sa loob ng mga group chats, we really need to pay attention to that. Yun yung isa sa mga recent developments. Tapos siguro yung other one lang, na I actually haven't studied yet personally because maybe even though I'm supposed to be an outstanding young scientist, old millennial na ako, I'm not on TikTok. And my young students are telling me that on TikTok, nandun na rin yung disinformation, marami itong mga videos na pinapakalat. And yung mahirap sa kanya, hindi ka pwedeng mag-comment, hindi mo pwedeng kontrahin yung sinasabi. It's just the video. So kahit kumontra ka and you say something about this, walang ibang makakaalam. So mas mahirap siya to contend with. Unlike sa Facebook na pwede magdebate pa nga kahit nakakapagod siya. Sa TikTok, wala nang debate. Kung ano yung nandun, yun na yun. So yung mga ganun siguro we need to pay attention to these technological developments and their social implication also.
All right, while you're still there, Dr. Cabañas, here's a question from Ina Hernando of Manila Bulletin. And sabi niya, with President Duterte still opposed to the resumption of face-to-face classes, the country is bracing for another year under distance learning. Now, how can DepEd, CHED, schools, teachers, and parents maximize the use of digital or social media without compromising the safety of students, especially in cyberspace?
Okay. I guess yung caveat ko is I'm not an education specialist. So hindi ko masyadong alam yung pedagogical dimension niya ng mga best teaching techniques and apart from what I try to do in my own classroom. Pero siguro as a media scholar, ang masasabi ko dyan, yung pinaka problema kasi natin is the lack of infrastructure. Kasi medyo nagulat din tayo sa COVID-19 na biglang I know maraming mga schools na nagtatry na to move to the online, pero biglang now, kailangan na ngayon na mag-move na online. So medyo mahirap yun. I think ang pwede natin gawin to kind of mitigate yung kasi nga the lack of infrastructure, medyo mahirap talaga siya at magastos, is marami ang complications, pero feeling ko that's one of the things that we need to do is whilst we are waiting for upgrades of our infrastructure, let's be creative and try to make do with what we already have. Total, sanay naman na yung mga bata na mabuhay sa mga technology na yan, baka pwede natin silang magamit. Pero syempre, mas iba pa yung situation outside our urban centers na hindi pa ganun ka-digitalized, diba? So, that's really a giant problem for us. Pero good to think about it now kasi doon na rin naman talaga tayo patungo. We will increasingly become more digital in the way that we teach. Salamat.
Thank you very much, Dr. Cabañas. Now, here's a question that I'd like to direct to any and all of our awardees. Okay, what opportunities do you think receiving this award will open up for you as a researcher? May nakikita ba kayong opportunities? Anyone can respond.
Okay, Sir Richard, I can somehow share. One of the opportunities that I see here is people are seeing that there's applied mathematics, there's data analytics around, so people can collaborate with us, and siguro this is also a door for the mathematicians to parang initiate the collaboration at hindi na magtataka yung mga tao, okay, you exist, you people exist. So this is like a starting point na magpakilala kami sa buong Pilipinas. And tingin ko ito yung opportunity na na-open sa amin because of, having this award. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very well said, Dr. Abahante. But there is still a lot to do, okay? I think we all agree that science and technology is there. We actually have talents in country, in situ, to help us along. But there is still a lot of work to be done. Okay, there's still so many unanswered questions. Wherever you are, especially to our media friends, let's invite people to consider science and technology careers because this is a surefire key to success as a nation. Okay, so I think we've also heard very, very pointed comments and lessons from our awardees. Bata pa lang po sila pero marami na po silang nakamit. Okay? So, congratulations to all of them. And sana dadami pa ang kanilang tribu. Alright? May your tribe increase. Now, let's hear something from Elena. Wants to say something?
A follow-on question to Dr. Cabañas' point earlier.
So what you're saying, sir, is that given that disinformation evolves, um, uh, the the false information or the fake news just becomes transmitted into a more personal avenue. So it's easier to um, make people kumbaga gullible about these false information.
Again, sorry, so what's sorry, any question again, sorry?
Yun pong in your research processes as a communication researcher, what are the most common forms po of disinformation that you've witnessed and their implications?
Yeah, I guess yung pinaka common form that we see will be historical distortion. Kasi very contested naman talaga ang history. So, it becomes really quite challenging. No? So, maraming mga ganon na master na yung mukha siyang documentary pero hindi talaga siya. It's a documentary-like material na nasi-share. So maraming ganyan na historical distortion na videos. Memes din, kasi yung memes, parang statement lang siya. Wala ka namang way of verifying na unless masipag ka at hanapin mo yung kwento behind it. So marami ring mga ganong memes na parang statements lang na mahirap ma-challenge. And then syempre, we also find a lot of yung nakakapagod na sasagot-sagutin ka in trolling. So yun yung sila siguro yung pinaka-common na nakikita namin sa social media.
Yeah. Miss Elena, Sir Jason, Sir, question na yun. Because numbers can be deceiving. In this time of COVID-19, we've seen how people use numbers to somehow misinform or disinform people. So, one way na naisip ko is for the mathematicians, data analytics people to help in the interpretation of the numbers para malaman ng public na hindi ito yung ibig sabihin ng number na to. Ito yung tamang meaning niya. And also siguro for the education na din sector to consider starting discussing ethics in their classes. Kahit bata pa lang sila, ma-discuss natin what's the good practices in analyzing data, interpreting data, in how to interpret numbers. Kasi numbers can be deceiving. And minsan ito yung ginagamit, di ba? Sige po. Thank you.
Add ko lang kay Dr. Bahante, I think it's really important. I've told other media people about this also. I-feature nyo yung mga scientists natin, our mathematicians, statisticians, epidemiologists, para yung explanation galing talaga sa kanila because they're the best. They're in the best position to explain it.
Sir, we do in our program called Pinoy Scientist, and Dr. Bahante ay naging guest na po namin. Thank you, sir.
So while you're still there, Dr. Jason and Dr. Jomar, what are the things, what would you advise people who want to post something on social media and they want to be on the side of truth, but they know that they're going to be meeting up with an avalanche of opposition from trolls and all of these things? What will be your advice?
Dr. Bahante, do you want to start?
Sige. So, tingin ko, for those people who want to share yung post, i-double check nyo saan yung sources nito. Kung yung sources ba nito ay mapagkakatiwalaan. And even though meron shinare yung isang news agency na sabihin nating kilala naman, still tingnan natin saan nakuha yung information. Kasi minsan kailangan mong basahin yung actual article. Kasi alam din naman natin, minsan sa headline pa lang mukhang may ibang sinasabi, pero pag binasa mo yung article, hindi naman ganon. So, kailangan nating magbasa. And siguro doon sa mga kapamilya natin na minsan ayaw din basahin yung yung laman, we help them na explain sa kanila na ito yung ibig sabihin ng article na to, baka hindi magandang i-share or ito yung magandang i-share na information. And we always go back to kung kailangan natin mag-share, we go back to DOH kasi ito yung official natin, agency for, let's say, COVID-19. Yung mga ganyan po.
Ako, what I can add to it is that I actually write about this, that we should actually use the weapons that the trolls use. And their key weapon is they know so well how to connect with the stories in people's heads. Pulsong-pulso nila yan, na parang, this is how people think, this is how we will craft the message. People who are in the side of good should do the same thing. Na especially when it comes to very difficult topics like health and ganyan na mahirap maintindihan, we need to understand our audiences and saan yung hugot nila para we are able to connect with that and deliver our message, not just clear in terms of information, but in a way that connects emotionally to them as well, because that's important. Because when we communicate, facts matter, of course, but also everything else, the sociality of it, the emotions, we need to take account of those as well.
Very good points. Thank you very much, Dr. Jason and Dr. Jomar. All right. I think there's always strength in numbers. So if you're looking for kakampi, well, look out for your scientists and science communicators, because more likely than not, they will be on the side of truth. Something that is verified, something that is systematic, all right? Something that you can rely on, okay? Authentic information, in other words. So if you're looking for numbers, reach out to your scientists, researchers, engineers, because they know better. Okay, so thank you very much. With that, I think we have had a very, very late, and thank our outstanding young scientists, all right? And of course, our time is running out. It's been a great pleasure to join you this morning, ladies and gentlemen, especially our friends from the media, as well as our awardees.